to the productivity of the small and intermediary enterprises, and of course getting to understand what is the way forward to ensure that these startups can actually provide sustainable services to these small and intermediary businesses in the long run. And this is in line with the capacity building and maintenance at the same time. Good morning, Marcy.
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. Today we're talking about the impact of startups on SME. Yes, and of course we see 80% when it comes to the numbers of SMEs in Africa contributing 80 million, and of course looking at them accounting for 95% of businesses, which contribute 50% of the GDP, and of course this has created more potential collaboration opportunities for startups in Africa. And of course, looking at the increasing number of investments in African startups, we see the increase from 5.2% in 2018 to 5.2 billion actually from 2018 to 8 billion as of 2022. That is how so far they're investing in startups so far
is concerned. And of course also getting to understand why, talking about the productivity of the small and intermediary enterprises, it's very clear that the small and intermediary enterprises contribute about 25% of GDP, that is to the country's economy, and also 45% of the labor force is employed amongst the small and intermediary enterprises. So them being available, it's a blessing to to the citizens, most especially the youth, because according to still research, it shows us that 700,000 youth have nothing to do in terms of seeking for employment. Some of them are not trained, some of them are not educated, and some are not active, when it comes to looking for jobs. So this is quite essential. But the coexistence of the tech startups and the small and intermediary enterprises is all based on the underlying factors to ensure that there is sustainability for them to give services. Because we've seen some of these tech startups offer solutions, for example, through production of softwares that these businesses can use to run their day-to-day activities. And there is a cost that they serve these businesses. And when you save the cost, it can drive up the profit at the end of the day.
And I really think the fact that there's been mobile phone penetration over 450 million subscribers in Africa, that means at least when it comes to tech startups, people are very much aware. But then at the end of the day, it poses a threat for people who have small, medium enterprises. With much as we talk about the penetration, we have to understand that people are ignorant.
Ignorance. Right.
People are still ignorant and the use of mobile phones, on the different applications to use. Now, of course, we are talking about digital economy where everything is purchased online. And, people still have that resilience, not resilience, actually, they're still laid back on how to actually improve their services. I could have a small, medium enterprises. Maybe I have a shop that I sell clothes, but then at the end of the day, I will have my online customers, because not everyone can access your shop. So definitely, I believe that is one of the reasons as to why we still are lagging behind in terms of technological advancement. People are not embracing the use of mobile phones properly. So you can have your shop physically and then you can trade online as well, because I believe now, you just imagine now, for instance, if I have an online maybe let's talk about
like you have a fashion and
fashion I'm selling clothes, so someone will be interested. If someone from Kabale, someone from Kapchora will be interested, like, you know what, I am interested in this, because at the end of the day you'll have to supply to the rest of the country. You make sure that at least you cater for both ends. And that is why the setups come in. With the different applications that are coming in. We have seen Jumia and the likes. So it's helping people purchase things online without going to a very physical shop.
Absolutely right. And speaking about that, there is also this attribute as much as these startups are coming up to bridge the gap between the SMEs and probably linking them up to the markets that they ought to. They've been facing a challenge of funding, first of all, funding and not the infrastructure. And now there is these policies which they are trying to formulate to ensure that there is that collectiveness in terms of sharing infrastructure. For example, how you can see people in like you have a shop, and in that shop you're sharing. You're about 3 people in that shop, so that is quite efficient. Now, I think the government has taken initiatives, has taken steps. For example, we've seen the establishment of the Innovation Hub by the Ministry of ICT, that is in Nakawa, to ensure that they provide this space, because this is part of the key ingredient when it comes to productivity and saving costs. Because rent is expensive, actually. If you're saying that you want to move out there, you establish your own space and, put up your equipment and start operations, it's quite very, it may be unrealistic, most especially if you've just started and you know that the rate at which people are embracing these startups in terms of getting their service is still low, and just a few that have penetrated so high. So you go to Nakawa, you have free space. All you have to do is innovate and then take your innovation out there to the businesses. At least I've gotten a chance to be there, and which is kind of saving and increasing on, because all you have at that time when you're starting up, you need to be thinking of, how do I make my innovation stand out? How do I make sure that this tech startup is actually solving a problem? That is also quite important, because you will only know that this innovation is relevant if an SME faces an actual problem, a real life problem, and you're very sure and confident that your tech startup can actually solve that. But that cannot happen if you don't have a peace of mind in terms of you have your space and you're not worried that maybe where I'm established, rent is expensive, because most of these people don't have the required capital to fund to support this, to sustain this for probably the first year. Yeah, but this space is relevant.
Yeah. So I was thinking, remember last week we were talking about Rwanda, the innovation that they brought about. They were talking about zip lining and then the drones.
Yeah, zip lining and drones.
Yes. So when you look at that, you realize that is a link between the startups and the SMEs. Startups and SMEs, yes. Because now at the end of the day, if I'm operating online and both physical, so if someone orders, I'll use someone's innovation, the drone, and they have to transport to the final
destination.
Yeah. So I believe such innovations, such startups, can ease up, transport and of course costs along the way.
Yeah, they cut the costs.
Yeah, they cut the costs along the way. So definitely. For Uganda, I'm not seeing that much really, except that maybe for different entities that have come up, which are not actually Ugandan made, they're trying. But of course, in business, I don't think. But anyway, we shall see. It's just that we're always having a problem of finance. Right? That's the only
financing
thing.
Gap.
Yes, we have the ideas, but then I think Ugandans do not take time to embrace the ideas. You talk about the idea that you have, and then it will just linger around. Yeah, so definitely we should, the Ministry of Science and Technology. Yes, that's why we're talking about the cooperation between these ministries. Yeah, the Ministry of ICT collaborating with the Ministry of Science and Technology to come up with something better.
Yeah, a whole collectively bit of it. And we seem to be lagging behind, most especially in science and technology, but we are more advanced in information communication technology.
Well, I think we've been talking about this starting from way from childhood. We do not have that kind of tech. I think the only thing that we have is maybe ICT, computers.
Yeah, there are lots of graduate ones, most especially, but science and technology, it's not been given as much attention because it seems to be harder because with science and technology, it deals with most cases physical, physical product.
Physical.
But with the ICT, I mean, people sit down, they build their applications, and it doesn't really require a lot of. Now, like I can go and download an editing software, which I code. And I can develop an application and I give it an interface. I've not invested in any money. All I needed is data. But with science and technology, it deals with a physical product. But if we can have a combination of those two, because those physical products still can need software. You know, you may develop something and need software to run it. So those two, so they ought to cooperate effectively if we are to see tech startups deliver products which can be used by small and intermediate enterprises.
And I believe it's quite expensive, you know,
yes,
if we're to say we're going to do science and technology starting from primary school. I mean, how many schools can actually have the kind of machinery that is needed? No, listen, actually, I don't think it's quite expensive. I'll give an example growing up. Growing up, I had a brother who did a fan. And this a fan, just, you know, he cut the Omo thing, you know, connected the wires and had a
motor.
And it was a fan.
It was rotating.
It was rotating.
Okay.
So it's the small things that makes things big. So I believe that should be improvised in the new curriculum. Because it starts way from childhood. Yeah. So you can imagine you're doing science and technology, but you cannot even think of an idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Whose responsibility is that? Is it for the school or the child at the end of the day? Well, that brings us to the end of the morning call. But of course, we're still proceeding with this discussion later on, getting to see later. And actually, at 9 a.m. in our business site, we shall be having a guest. He's holding a company, of course, which helps to deal with softwares for businesses, to help them, accounting softwares, clinics, and all that, all sorts of kinds of businesses. And we shall be discussing what areas of mainly capacity building that is required for these startups, for these technology startups, if they are to deliver efficient services to the small and intermediary enterprises, which we've observed contribute 25% of the labor force. 25% GDP and employ 45% of the labor force in the country. Uganda. Well, let's take a look at now what's making headlines into the press. Well, starting off here with a new vision, agency merger, and of course affected staff to get no compensation. Now, 13 bills stable for rationalization of state enterprises. And now seeing here, First Lady still inspects AFCON facilities. Yes, she's observing what, in the stadiums, what are the facilities in there. And still on the top page, somebody here says why students must learn farming, and that is in school. And how Uganda loses billions at the Mombasa tea market. And the French company is set to invest 11.6 trillion shillings in Uganda.
Well, of course, here, looking at the agency mergers, government tables 39 bills in parliament regarding that matter. And of course, government drafts policy on Mukene. Well, of course, Mao to Museveni hand over power peacefully. For those that are interested in do politics, you can get yourself. And of course, Uganda plans for pipeline from Tanzania. Yeah, since Kenya has definitely not agreed to this, we shall use the wronger route.
Okay. And now I see here something to do with farmers to tap tech skills from Netherlands. This is what we've been actually talking about, tech skills, how we can employ, the coexistence between technology and small and intermediary enterprises. And now State House skills instructors under presidential girl, State House skills, yes, State House skills instructors under presidential girl child project. So it's transparent there. And seeing 350 child cancer survivors have been discharged there. And of course, here they put out something for you about signs and the symptoms of cancer. Okay. All right. Still the big story. No compensation for staff affected by the rationalization.
Yeah.
And the Tourism Amendment Bill 2024 is to amend the Uganda Wildlife Act 2019 and confer on the Uganda Wildlife Authority additional functions.
Actually, do you know, when we were talking about government mergers a few weeks ago, I agreed with the fact that, I mean, what do you mean compensation? What do you mean compensation? Are we compensating you for the time you're not going to be working in this organization? What are we compensating you for?
No, I think it's part of the label that when you
maybe as a civil servant.
When somebody is actually, because this is okay, it's not a short notice. They have been aware, but when it comes to who is leaving,
maybe
no one knows about that. So they are entitled to at least a little, because that's what we've seen this layoffs happen in tech companies in the US.
So I saw the one for, was it Twitter?
For Twitter.
Yeah,
you're compensated. You're given a certain, of course, it may not be a lot, but at least something to, as you get out to search out for something else when you have a startup. But I can understand, Uganda, we are not yet at that level.
We're not yet at that level.
Because even China itself, we look up to, has just started to obey the labor laws.
Because they were hoping of 7 billion compensation money.
7 billion to compensate them.
And of course, UWA fires 5 staff over gorilla permit scandals. Yes, and temper flare as government tables 39 bills on merger of agencies, where it's a heated up argument in the parliament so far. Well, 39 are here actually.
But some agencies have been performing actually quite well.
Yes.
And actually, some members of parliament were saying, is this budget targeting certain agencies? For example, the UNRWA has been spotted out as one of those, as those agencies, because it's very clear before its establishment, we had less roads making, I think, 1,000 kilometers, tarmac roads. But now with that, we have more than 1,000 kilometers of tarmac. Okay, so literally it was evident. And some member of parliament are saying, why are you, is it a chance to disintegrate some of the efficient, agencies, So, I mean, some have not been efficient, that's the truth. But at least there should be considerations as they are making this decision. Now, I'm seeing here Uganda to partner with Botswana to manufacture the vaccine, to manufacture the FMD vaccine. Now, this is an incredible development. Foot and mouth disease vaccine. And President Museveni met the CEO of the Botswana Vaccine Institute. Yes. And now Masaka youth join General Muhoozi to a mobilization. And analysts have suggested that Muhoozi's visit is a timely opportunity to tap into the cracks of NUP support in the Greater Massacre, especially in Puga, who was dropped as leader of opposition, that is in Parliament. And now, story here about the police circle. Exodus circles the buy-off police officers' loan. Okay, grab yourself a copy, you'll find that out. That and the 4 officers arrested over aiding escape of a murder suspect.
And of course, regarding agriculture, scientists have tasked government to improve soil conditions. And of course, they appeal to government to increase access to facilities for soil testing to enable farmers to understand the status of their soil for successful transition from subsistence to commercial agriculture. And that is what we've been talking about.
Exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely. And now I'm seeing here something to do with the universities tasked on employable skills. Actually, some universities, apart from, there is a course they do relate. It's called CRE.
Oh, divinity.
No, not actually that. CRE is career readiness and employability.
Career readiness.
Actually, for the first time, I always the students saw this and like, no way, we're doing divinity. CRE, but of course,
it's not about now excelling. It's about
how ready, how are you? Yeah.
Yes, understanding.
And understanding, and you see, when you get to realize the course units that are broken down in that, it includes all a lot to do with the, for example, social media skills. How do you use social media? Because this is where the world is in. I mean,
true.
this is the trend, and so many more. How can you write a proposal? You know, all those skills. You know, it's way beyond what you've been taught. Because if you have that and you don't have the necessary ingredients, it's useless. Well, we come to the end of our press brief. Now we're heading straight to our traffic update this morning, and of course, my observation that looks like Access Road. It must be, yeah. So, and of course, linking up. But wait, see, this is one of the roads that I've just been in, but I think a pothole there.
Well, of course, you're gonna never disappoint. Maybe no.
Potholes already on the Access Road. Well, this seems to be well planned pothole. It's in shape.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's triangular in shape. And you see, when you're traveling all across there, you're trying
to dodge it.
To dodge it. And dodging it, you'd never know that at the side of you dodging it, there is a border passing. So you cause an accident. All right. So that is the situation we're observing. It's quite calm and there is not really any jam. I think when it comes to Wednesdays, the city gets a bit calm in terms of congestion.
It's really deep.
Wednesdays, Thursdays, but Mondays and Tuesdays are quite congested. But then Friday becomes another problem. Most especially, I think Friday is just morning hours. I think Friday is congested in the morning hours. Right? Of course, now talking about for the people that are coming in from industrial area, 6th Street, 7th Street, 8th Street, you can see that is how the situation is like. It's free, free and calm, and those coming in from Namuwongo side. And this place is also renowned much for having lots of pedestrians, people that, walk along. It's more like the clock tower. Yeah, so for still people coming in from Kabala, Galaka and Sanga, all areas along Gaba Road, and you're definitely planning to use this route, you could be coming in from Kansanga, and you're heading towards, for example, Wandegea. Well, you'll have to be just patient for just about, in my observation, it's about 5 or 7 minutes before you can proceed. Of course, vehicles are held just there. But as you proceed towards Senior Road and head to Yusuf Lule Road, it can be effective and efficient for you to reach to your required destination. So those are the pedestrians I told you about that use that road, and majority are coming in from those industrial areas. Namuwongo side, Chibuli at the same time. Yeah, so people really walk to report to work, most especially. So that is how the situation is really standing at, like the Chibuli residents, you're coming to, to different areas. Now the question is clock tower and here, most especially if you're reporting to the city center, what seems to be the shortcut for the people staying along Gaba Road? I think the distance seems to be almost the same a bit, it seems to be almost the same, though clock tower would be the ideal place for you. This is mainly for those if you're maybe heading to Jinja Road, heading to areas like Nakawa, you're heading to Ntinda, well, this would be the right. But if it's in any of the areas that are linking to the city center, could use the clock tower and you proceed. And well, that brings us to the end of our traffic report this morning. It's exactly 26 minutes past 7, and it's we've been live in there at the Access Road roundabout, which seems to be, of course, it's fairly congested, but the traffic is in motion. Yes, it's in motion. Well, 26 minutes, and now Smart Means Business takes a break, and we return with the Karibu East Africa and the international updates at large. Stick around.